Hello and welcome to all our viewers watching from around the world. I'm Linda KINKADE. Ahead on CNN Newsroom, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer welcomes Ukraine's president to Downing Street with a hug. A stark contrast to the finger-pointing and shouting at the White House on Friday. Israel says it will stop all humanitarian aid from entering Gaza as phase 1 of the ceasefire with Hamas is scheduled to end. So what comes next? And aiming for the moon, the Blue Ghost lunar lander is set to touch down this hour. We're expecting live pictures as it approaches.
Live from Atlanta, this is CNN Newsroom with Linda KINKADE.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is expected to receive a massive show of support today from more than a dozen European leaders. They're scheduled to attend a Ukraine summit in London. President Zelensky met Saturday with British Prime Minister Keir Starmer. The pair finalised loans from the UK for more than $2 billion. Mr. Zelensky received a reception that was quite different from his experience in Washington on Friday. He said the meeting in London was significant and warm. The Prime Minister's comments were a big change from President Trump's.
That you're very, very welcome here in Downing Street. As you heard from the cheers on the street outside, you have full backing across the United Kingdom.
We'll compare that to this chaotic scene Friday with President Trump shouting at President Zelensky. That meeting ended with White House officials asking the Ukrainian president to leave. CNN's Claire Sebastian joins us now from chilly London. Good to have you with us, Claire. So the UK Prime Minister not only offering full support to Ukraine, but also a multi-billion-dollar accelerated loan for weapons production. How soon could Ukraine access that?
Yeah, look, Linda, I think this is part of the messaging that we're going to get from Keir Starmer today. He wants not just these warm words of solidarity as Europe tries to essentially pick up the pieces from what happens on Friday, but he also wants action. So we got that announcement on Saturday from the UK that they are sort of accelerating this $2.8 billion loan. This is part of a G7 initiative where this is essentially a loan, but Ukraine won't have to repay this. This will be repaid using the windfall profits of those Russian frozen assets, these sovereign assets that were frozen at the beginning of the war. So that will be given to Ukraine in 3 annual installments. We don't know exactly when they'll be dispersed, but it will be used, Ukraine says, for procuring weapons, essentially defense procurement. So that's, you know, part of the sort of fanfare around this visit, this call to action. But I think the symbolism really matters as well. As you said, we saw this sort of arrival, the hug on Downing Street. Keir Starmer came out to greet President Zelensky himself. He really wants to show that the UK and, of course, the rest of Europe, over a dozen European leaders here today, are with Zelensky. And there was a moment in front of the cameras in Downing Street, right behind me here on Saturday, which I think sharply contrasted, as you noted, to what we saw in the Oval Office. Take a listen.
I want to thank you, people of the United Kingdom, such big support from the very beginning of this war. Thank you, your team. And I'm very happy that His Majesty the King accepted my meeting tomorrow, and I'm thankful that you organized such a great summit for tomorrow. And we are very happy in Ukraine that we have such strategic partners.
So this has been somewhat of a pattern since the events that went down on Friday in Washington, these expressions of gratitude from President Zelensky. Obviously, he was berated by President Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance for his alleged lack of gratitude. I think the meeting with the King is also highly symbolic. Obviously, that comes after the fanfare that we saw when Keir Starmer on Thursday in Washington presented President Trump with an invitation from the King for a second state visit. He called it unprecedented. He said it would be really special. I think the fact that President Zelensky will have that same audience with the King today is sort of a way of leveling the playing field here, a real sign of the UK's solidarity with Ukraine. But the banner event, of course, will be just half a mile or so from here at Lancaster House, this meeting that has been pretty hastily convened. This is the kind of diplomacy that we're seeing at the moment with over a dozen European leaders. There'll also be the Secretary General of NATO, EU top officials, the Foreign Minister of Turkey, lots of different officials coming together gather here today. And then before that, we're going to also see another bilateral meeting. The Prime Minister of Italy, Giorgia Meloni, will arrive, we expect, here at Downing Street just before that major meeting. This is an interesting choice for a bilateral meeting. She is a close ally of Trump. She also supports Ukraine. So she will be walking this tightrope, while at the same time, I think, trying to position herself as someone who can help build this bridge now between Europe and the US, Ukraine and the US, something that obviously now is in very serious damage control mode.
Yeah, exactly right. Claire Sebastian for us outside 10 Downing Street. Great to have you there for us. Stay warm and thanks very much. Well, the White House is calling Friday's diplomatic disaster a win for Donald Trump. CNN's Betsy Klein explains.
Well, despite that united front in Europe, the White House really views this moment and President Trump's handling of this meeting with President Zelensky as a win. And to that point, we have seen the White House really amplify messages of support from top Republican lawmakers, as well as members of Trump's cabinet and other top White House officials, really amping up those messages and rave reviews for how Trump handled all of this. Now, Vice President J.D. Vance is in a remote Vermont ski town this weekend where protesters lined the streets, including one protester who held up a sign that said, quote, "Go ski in Russia, traitor."